Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round number 14 of the iFormula League, presented to you by Butt Kicker. We are here at Suzuka Racing Circuit for 26 laps of intense F3 action. I'm here alongside my partner, Lewis Archer. Lewis, we've got a big race here ahead of us at a very, very popular racetrack.
Yeah, that's it. Just off the back of what you were saying there. People love Suzuka, don't they? The drivers love Suzuka, the spectators love Suzuka, the world loves Suzuka. It's one of the best racing facilities you can go to. It's got everything, isn't it? As we just see these guys peel out for their qualifying session. Now we know they've got 25 minutes, which is a nice open session for them to get what they need to do. But yeah, what a track this. Oh, I think we've got a new pink car there. I can see a fresh livery there. Excellent. We've got a new turning point. Sorry, don't mean to butt into our intro there, but I was too gobsmacked by the new turning point livery. It looks rather stunning. But yeah, very challenging track. Again, we've mentioned this before about the balance of downforce and things like that, because obviously these are very downforce reliant cars. It's got just a few annoyingly long straights on this track, hasn't it? Obviously hooked in with those. With the ridiculous amount of high-speed corners you've got, you just really don't know where to put the car.
Yeah, and at the beginning of the course, it really does throw you off because those corners are not the exact same. They're not all curved the same or the same length, or some of it's uphill, and it really gets you. You're all of a sudden left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, and you kind of get lost in the confusion. And if you get thrown off your line, especially through that first sector of the track, it's really hard to get back online, especially if you got traffic around you. They're going to take advantage of you getting offline going through that sector, so it's one thing you definitely have to watch out for. But it is an 18-turn racetrack, and just over 3 miles, 3.16 miles, with two long straightaways that these guys are going to be able to use to get some tow, and maybe possibly make a pass in there. The high-speed corners you were talking about, a lot of these corners of the 18, I believe it's like 10 or 12 of these corners of the 18 are fairly high speed, either fourth gear or above corners. So these guys are going to be moving quite quick, and if we get some side-by-side battling through some of these corners, they may be fast corners, but they will slow you down a lot being side-by-side, because you have to be that much extra careful alongside someone going through those high-speed corners, so that'll allow someone either behind or ahead to gain extra time.
That's it. It's a very unique challenge, isn't it, Suzuka? I mean, we were talking about you're talking about the long sweeping corners there, and how that rhythm can be disrupted. Sector 1's just a killer, isn't it? So as you come into that first S section, if you're just not quite where you want to be into the first half of that sector, it just puts you in the wrong line for the next corner, and then the next corner you really struggle to just bring it back to where the car needs to be. Corner after corner after corner, really, you just lose so much time. You almost have to treat that first sector like one corner. But and wherever you set the car up, you'll feel like you've lost out. So if you set the car up for heavy downforce and you feel all that time and the delta and the benefit in sector 1 and halfway through sector 2 as you go through those lovely Degner S's there, you will feel like you're losing so much speed up the back straight, up the home straight, up the middle straight. There's a bunch of straights where you're going to feel like you're losing, and then it makes even more emphasis on making your higher downforce package work in the fast corners. You really, 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 really have to commit and just throw it through every single corner you've got, because that's the way you've gone with your setup. Obviously, vice versa, if you go with a low downforce setup, you've just got to get through. You've got to survive those corners, get great exits to everything, and just maximize the straight line speed and the maximum speed that your car. It'll be interesting to see what if we have that trade-off today, but it's got absolutely everything. And one thing I wanted to point out that you was talking about as well, not all of these corners are the same, and it can be a bit left, right, left, right. You go around the circuit, but if you actually study this circuit, there are minor differences between every single one of these corners. It's a very, very, very technical track. Every single corner in the first sector gets slightly tighter than the one before it.
The guy behind
so you just and rolling off the back of the previous corner, you just have to kill a little bit more speed working your way around to the second sector. But a very, 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 very technical track, and that's why these drivers love it. It just enables them to get their brains out online.
So 5 minutes through qualifying, we've got 9 drivers with a score on the board. And look who's on top. Julie Redmond of the CUDA Evo team, second race here in the IFL, and she's got a 1:53.607, almost 0.7 of a second faster than Jacob Potts, currently sitting on the board second, as Potts takes the fastest lap there and crosses up Redmond. So Jacob Potts staying towards the front of the board there. I believe he is one of the Lumos drivers. So we actually think we talked about this last week. There's 2 different color Lumos cars on the grid, so I'm not sure if one of those is Lumos and Lumos Academy. But yeah, Jake Potts sitting out front, and Matt Stelflug goes to the top of the chart. So it looks like we're gonna start seeing some quick times. Not too familiar with what the times should be for a round quality time. Like you said last week, we're not quite to those quality times yet. But I have to imagine in the next 5 minutes, this board's really gonna light up.
Probably, yeah. Predicted pole time. I mean, we pegged it out last week. We weren't too far off. I think we're probably going to see. I mean, there we go. Stelflug, like you said, with a 1:53.1. I'd be very, very, very impressed if anyone can get these cars into the 51s. I mean, we've got a 26-degree track today. It's 2 p.m. in the afternoon inside their virtual session today, so there's fairly optimal conditions. Partly cloudy. I mean, you will catch some parts of the session that the track might be a bit baked by the sun, but 26 degrees is pretty happy for where these tyres are going to want to be. I don't think they're going to be struggling for grip, so we may see some pretty optimum times come in. But yeah, we mentioned this last week, the tyres take a hell of a long time to warm up. We've only been in this session now for 7.5 minutes, so just about now we start to see some of these times coming in. We're looking at some purple sectors there from Parts and from Gutnick. But yes, definitely worth a mention. Redmond there, being up to speed on a cold tyre and setting. So obviously, if you think about it, essentially in rounds like this, everybody goes out on a cold tyre, and your first timed lap will be timed, although it's way off the benchmark. It's still being timed, although no one's pushing. The quickest cold lap does set a precedent. As we see Turner there and Potts, first drivers to peak into the 52s. So we're just a half a second off away from that impressive 1:51 that I think we're looking for. And at the moment, I would just like to say this as well. No Caitlin Height. Well, it's taken me 5 minutes to realise. I mean, and their last round, you may have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure last round they took second in the constructors from Turning Point, the pink car. I am sure Shegetman, with his incredible amount of points, I'm sure put them second in the standings. Obviously we know Caitlin's got first in the standings. That the CUDA Works team took second in the constructors. Yeah, there we go. So although they've got a fair few, well, no, that's not too bad. I mean, if Caitlin doesn't turn up today, we know 2 drivers can really, really peel back a score, unlike 1 driver. So there's a lot to play for today. If Caitlin doesn't turn up in the next X amount of time and doesn't make this session, and those 2 CUDA Works guys can really maximise on that, I mean, they can potentially walk away from this event with nigh on 50 points. If Matt gets the skates on and gets the 25 points down, and Stelflug gets a good P3 or a P4, they'll walk away close to 40 points. They'll close that gap straight away, and then we are talking championship, constructors championship win. There's a crown to be aimed for here. That's what I'd be thinking about. But I mean, we've got a little bit of time left yet, so Caitlin might turn up, in which case it all goes back to the way it was. And but already, even if Caitlin turns up now, these guys are on track and heated up, and she'd be on the back foot. And we see
Brandon Walker giving Julie Redmond a tow down the straightaway, and she's going to move up to third place on the board. As looks like Brandon Walker's going to go off, giving her a hand. That's some true teamwork right there. You see Brandon Walker's currently down in 8th place, so he's got a ways to go, a full second to catch up to the leaders at the moment. But definitely, we're only about halfway through the practice or the qualifying here, so he definitely has another run or two that he could possibly get in. But the sun is starting to shine on the racetrack. The shade is gone, so I feel like the times we're at are going to stay unless we see some clouds peek over the track. And there goes Julie Redmond spinning off the corner.
It's just hit at the wrong time, isn't it? I said this, it's partly cloudy, and the sun's just come out from behind one of those clouds, and it's in a fairly large gap in between two clouds. So yeah, I think they're probably going to cop this sun now for the rest of the session.
But Matt Stoufflug takes the pole with a 152.502, 4/100ths of a second faster than his teammate Matt Turner. So the Kuda Works team is currently sitting on the front row with just over 16 minutes left to go in qualifying.
Yeah, I mean we're 12 minutes deep into the qualifying session now. That looks fairly legitimate, doesn't it? Still waiting for that 51, but this is I do believe this is the first time we've seen these two drivers at any point this season that close. I'm pretty sure. I mean, they're separated by. I'd really, really, really like to see those laps back to back, because they are super, super, super close lap times.
Well, the one thing we are seeing drivers still turning some green sectors, so that either means that they just weren't up to their optimum pace while the shade was out, or there is still a little bit of grip and speed left in this racetrack.
Yep, I'm keeping my eye on the thermostat track temperature, and we're still at 26 degrees, so this quick battering of sun is still yet to take effect, but we are it is in their virtual sim now. It is late October, so they may see actually the track just rubbering nicely, and then just get on. I mean, we've got the marbles and off track and things like that, but yeah, this is I'm very taken back by that. This is probably the strongest form we've seen from Stoufflug this whole season at this point during a qualifying session. He's normally a race day man, isn't he? He keeps his head clean. We often see Stoufflug finish the race with least penalties than anybody else, and least amount of incidents, and not our out-and-out pace-setting a lead pace setter, as it were, and usually a couple of 3 or 4 tenths, if not more, off of that lead pace. But this weekend, provisionally sat on provisional pole with just over 10 minutes of the session left to go. I'm very, very taken back by that. We've got a race on it. It's there.
And you know Matt Turner's excited about it, but at the same time, he's like, really, man, that little bit of time, you know he's got to try to go back for it. Because we talk about it every week. The one goal that you have, no matter what else is going on in the entire season, your one goal every weekend is to beat your teammate. And we've seen Matt Turner better Stoufflug a lot this season, and Stoufflug here coming with 5 races to go left in the season is just proving that he still belongs on that team, and he still can compete with Matt Turner at a competitive level.
Yeah, and I really think we're seeing. I mean, this is why we go to multiple venues, isn't it? The aim of this competition is to find out who is the best F3 driver over multiple locations, multiple track conditions, multiple surfaces, bumpy tracks, tight tracks, twisty tracks, long tracks, all these different things. And I do believe maybe what we're seeing here with Steltflug is just he's a lot more comfortable on this track than he has been anywhere else. I can't imagine he's changed a massive. You can't change that much in 1 week. You know, maybe he's just super comfortable here. His teammate is where he should be, right up the front, only being deprived by that fastest time by his own teammate. But my first thought when I saw that time was the championship implications. I wonder how they're going to play that as a team. Obviously, they've got a very, very, very obvious opportunity here to take massive points.
Now we look at Matt Turner, and he does have 3 now green sectors on his lap here. He only needs 4 1/1000ths of a second, and he's got 3 green sectors. So we could be seeing the pole lap, the 51 you're looking at, from Matt Turner here coming up again.
Take us on board for this next lap. Let's see if he can slightly improve for this one. I'll talk us around the lap of Suzuka. Super committed corner this one. Let's have a nice lap of Suzuka. What a fantastic circuit. Full speed through that one. Just trail braking hard. Get a late apex coming through this one. You want to get the power down. Get the car across the track, not too violently. And this corner is just a little bit tighter than the previous one. And then this one a little bit more. The cutback a little bit stronger. There's a bit of math going on between that one and this one. And this one's the hardest one. You get the cutback because essentially this exit is the start of your little miniature back straight here. Not quite using all the exit on that corner there, bringing it round tight, using all the meters on the inside there. Degner 1, massive commitment. Oh, as he flicks the front in, too much. Nice. All of that looked really, really, really good there. If you commit a little bit too hard to Degner 1, you tend to shoot through and hit the wall at Degner 2, so that was nice. Choosing the medium trail bake option, coming out there, getting on a nice early power. The car looks fairly bolted for Matt Turner. Maybe they've just, as a team, got a really, really nice car this week. Taking it down the miniature medium straight now. Again, still not a straight line, so if you're side by side, the inside line still matters. Very fast back section now, coming onto one of the most important exits of the course. As it just barrows over a hill as you're trying to get the power down, it's horrible. And then this is it. And this is the massive long as we go down to one of the most famous corners in all motor racing, 130R. It's just a stunning corner. You can't race through it side by side, but you can certainly drive through it flat out. Here we go, beautiful line there. Way, way, way enough grip for that one. And just into turn 17 and 18 now, which is horrible because you can fluff all the time you've gained up here. And let's see if we can improve again. There is 1 purple sector and 1 green sector in this. He's so close to that pole time right now as he shaves his car close to the wall there.
That's a new fastest lap.
And it was just enough to go just the other side. I don't think we're going to see that 51. I don't think we're going to see that 51, Rob. These guys are snipping and shaving at tenths now.
Yeah, it's looking more and more like these low 52s. I'm thinking that maybe if Caitlin Wright were here, she might be able to pull out a 15.3 at maybe. But I'm really thinking this is about where it's at. We're just seeing that little bit of fuel come out and that just extra push. That hitting the gas when you really don't think it's going to work, but you got to try it anyway because you need that 10th to pick up that extra point. So Turner does a great job at putting himself back on the provisional pole with 6 minutes left to go in qualifying. These guys got a chance for one more round to get these cars out. Jacob Potts is on track, but he's got 1 purple sector and 1 green sector, but everything else I'm seeing in the timing has been orange. So the people losing time. The track's got all the rubber it's going to get. It's starting to heat up now because that sun's been beating on it for 15 minutes. And Jacob Potts goes to the lead with a 152.407. Wow.
It must have just really nailed that last sector. I was just looking at that as you were talking there. I was just studying the line. And then that last 5th sector there just popped up purple. He must have just absolutely dialed it in coming out that last corner. What a session we're looking at. What a session. This feels like part of the race already as we see somebody try to take a void of action there. Bit of traffic going on now. If Potts is winding up to go even quicker, he's certainly not going to be helped by this sister car. These are essentially half-cut teammates, aren't they? So this is similar to what we see with the Cuda Works and the Cuda Evo guys. But whoa! So Potts there on provisional pole. 5 minutes left to go for the Cuda Works guys, and they were just looking there for a lockout for the first Cuda Works front row lockout of the F3. We get it a lot in the F2, but it'd be the first Cuda Works F3 lockout, and then Potts just smashes the thing there for what will be his first pole position of the IFL. I do believe, I may be wrong, but I'm sure that'll be his first pole position ever if he keeps that lap where it is.
Oh, and there he goes. He's losing. He's not going to better it there. But the cool thing is, you're talking about the kind of sister team for the Lumos guys. For a while there, Jacob Potts and his teammate were kind of like backup driver, fill-in drivers for Gutenek and Morbetto, and for some of the season we didn't really see too many Lumos cars on the racetrack, throughout the mid-season. So to see two different teams of Lumos drivers out on the racetrack is really nice to see here, and I'm really digging this golden blue paint scheme from Jacob Potts, and I'm sure it's going to look really nice on that podium spot for the start of the race. We've only got 3 more minutes left in qualifying, so just about 2 laps to go.
No purple sectors.
And no green sectors. We're seeing all orange, so we might be looking at our current pole sitter. But Stelflug and Turner are out. Redmond's out. She's sitting in 4th. Rodrigo Miranda, another new driver, is currently sitting in 5th, going around trying to turn some laps, maybe able to pull something out we are not expecting, but so far everything's been orange. Luke Smith's got 1 green sector, but this track's really slowed down a bit.
That's going to take me some getting used to looking at that. That's they've taken a lot more pinch from the BWT water sponsor than the pink. It was just overall, you look at 25 cars or whatever, and you see 2 pink cars in there, and now there's a significant portion less of pink on that car and blue. I mean, we've got quite a few other blue cars on the grid, but yeah, with regards to the time there, there's a few things to mention here. There are definitely Saturday drivers and Sunday drivers. We know there are drivers here that perform better on race day than they do in the qualifying session, and we know so much now, looking back at the races that we've got, that race pace and quali pace is just 2 very different things. It takes a lot of brains to do 26 laps of Suzuka. It's a very, very challenging circuit. If we do see a safety car, which hopefully not, because it will be an incredibly long and painful experience for these guys. It will be nearly 5-minute lap. But yeah, just absolutely. As we see Corey Schatz donning the new paint job there as well, I really do think we've got an absolute. And I mean, we're looking like, I have to mention this as we close into the end of this session now. Don't think we're going to see Caitlin Height.
Yeah, it looks like Caitlin Height is going to miss out. And it could be that she just knows that she's got such a big lead, and she's got a lot of confidence, definitely depending on how she drives. And we're coming up on an off week next week, so maybe she's just taking an early vacation and is going to come back for the last 4 races at our final Europe tour and do what she can to race and seal the deal in her championship.
But it's like losing the main protagonist of any series, isn't it? It just blows the race wide open for anybody. I think Potts, Turner, Stelflug, and Redmond's just 2 tenths behind her. That's stunning. P1 to P5 is 3 tenths. That's anyone's game in my head. I would not call that a pole position. Yes, you take the honours and you go P1, yeah, thanks for the 8 metres of spare track. But I would, as a race pace, when you smash pole position by 5 tenths, you know you've got the field covered. Do you know what I mean? You are legitimately in first place and you're going to drive away from that grid. But if you just got 1 good lap down and you sneaked a couple thousandths over your competitor there and just sniffed your car into P8, it's game on. You know the guy's going to be right on you. And if you're in P2 on the grid by 5 1,000ths or whatever, you know, I nearly got pole today by, you might as well have called it a piece of paper. So I've got that pace. And you could say that all the way down to P5. They are all within 2 tenths now between that and fit. This is crazy. This is crazy tight. I think we're really going to see a battle. And we know as well the way this circuit works and the way it funnels you into turn turn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that first complex, things can get pretty gnarly if you try to go side by side in that first sector.
So we don't have Cristiano Schegetman, as we don't have...
No.
But look who is in Cristiano Schegetman's seat. Rodrigo Miranda knocks Julie Redmond down to 5th place at the end of the qualifying session, and is going to start P4 for the first race here in the in the turning point car. So 4th place, pretty awesome start, and even though we lost a couple of our main protagonists for this race, we have a few new drivers that are really starting to show their colors up towards the front of the field. So it's really going to make this race something to watch without having the one driver that everybody plans on.
Julie on a hot one.
Oh,
It's
and Julie's
greens and
got
greens
a bunch
and
of
greens,
greens.
Yeah, this is looking really good, and this is way off the end of the session as well, so it's now or never, really. That looked clean.
She's currently 2.5 tenths off the pace. What's she going to put down? A 152, 407, 587 up to 4th.
From Miranda. Ha!
Just enough to get it done, and I believe that's the last driver to get it done. So Jacob Potts is going to take your pole for the Japanese Grand Prix.
Excellent work, that man. Steals it from the two Cuda Works boys, who just then, at 15 minutes into the session, it looked like they'd locked out the front row for the first session. I mean, still incredible work for Steltflug to be right there, so close to his teammate, but...
So let's take a look at what our race conditions are going to be like here. They're going to have a 5-minute warm-up session before we go racing. So, 72 degrees surface temperature is not too bad with a 77-degree track temperature. Is this going to be a nice, grippy, hard-on race, or are we going to see a lot of slipping and sliding here?
Well, we know that with the settings that this league run, we do get dirt offline and we do get marbles and things like that, and it's a tyre killer, this track. So all through Sector 1 and halfway through the back section, Degna 2, you're going to get a lot of offline dirt that over the course of the race you try to make any moves, and down the back straight as well. I can speak from a little bit of experience. I was racing in the F2 race yesterday, and just halfway through the race I was trying to make an advanced move on a competitor down the back straight, and I had a good draft, and he pulled over to cover me off on the back straight and drove offline, and the amount of dirt and crap that his car was kicking up, I just drove out of it. Although I drove away from the slipstream just to get away from all the crap that was hitting my car, genuinely. So it was that bad, and I just didn't want to drive over there. I was like, this is so much dirt, I don't want to have that on my car when I get to turn 1. I actually chose the clean side of the track over the aero. So that'd be a thing. And that only happened on lap 10, 11. So, yeah, we know potentially they could get quite dirty. But, yeah, grip-wise, I think they've got a pretty good session. Track temperature's now decreased by 1 degree. We're at 25 now. So if anything... And it's 2:30 in their session now. So it should be, if anything, getting cooler and cooler. But, yeah, so the story of qualifying there, if we really want to sum it, is... Jacob Potts steals the front row from what would have been a Cuda lockout for the first time, and Julie Redmond in her second race with a stunning lap to just be a pinch off of all of that little tiny mess there. Look, they're not even a tenth separated, P1, 2 and 3, and Julie's just behind that. That's a tiny little dab on the brake or a tiny little hesitation on the throttle, but other than that, a perfect lap. And Miranda there, Rodrigo Miranda, a brilliant start, like you say, for the new Brazilian driver. Just a pinch off that, I'd guess, really 2 tenths, the same sort of gap. And then you start to see this progression down with Alex Shanna, which we'll be hoping for a much better race. Shanna will be. He's had 2 back in the IFL since he rejoined from the F2, and they've both been fairly dire. So hopefully Shanna has a better run this weekend. But he's sat line astern with his current teammate Alex Gutnick. And they're both being smashed by Jake Potts. He's just got far superior pace to anybody else in that package. Luke Smith sat in 9th, and Rory Collins rounding out the top 10. We've got no Jackson Carr either. There's a couple missing. You are right. Corey Schartzer there. absolutely being annihilated by his new teammate, Rodrigo Miranda. So we'll look at that throughout the race. Stuart Gibbons, Steve Bunting, Buddy Boggs and Eric Beddoes rounding off our grid. We've got a race on our hands.
Yes, we do, and it is going to be a great one. 26 laps is going to be the distance this afternoon, and we have that one pit stop, and we've seen that they can literally take a pit within the first usually 5 to 8 laps of a race and make it to the end, especially if we have a safety car. And as we've gone through the season, sometimes it's risky, sometimes it's not. But
2 minutes to go.
These drivers are starting to learn more and more every single time they're on the track with these drivers, because they are mostly the same drivers they race with week in, week out. We post up practice sessions all week, and people are racing with each other in those practice sessions and driving with them and knowing where their mark is. So the driving in this league is only going to get more and more competitive, and that's why we really see it on the board in times. You know what I mean? It's, we got a driver backwards in the hairpin. That's not very good, but yeah, we're going to have a fantastic race this afternoon. Just a few more minutes. Minute left here in warm-up, and then we're going to go back to lights out. 16 drivers, 26 laps, and Suzuka's ready. I'm ready. Are you ready, Lewis?
Born ready. Love this track. I think they're ready for Suzuka. Just going back to your previous sentiment about we've touched on this, haven't we, in previous races there. We just see these guys having a bit of fun before it has to be called serious. But yeah, we talk about this this rhythm, and it is a thing now. These guys aren't messing about. Some of these drivers have been here for 38 races. 38 races. This is their 39th, do you know? So I think this might even be GP 40. This might be GP 40. So some of these drivers have been doing this races now for 40 races, and not only that, they've been driving around the majority of this grid. We've seen new drivers come and go, but at least 50% of this grid is used to driving around the other 50% of the grid. So and it shows. It shows the whole grid learns. We've seen a gap on this exact same field at any given track, 5-6 seconds between pole and the back, and it's only 2.5 today. So everybody's learning. The very moment. I am excited. I haven't actually mentioned my excitement at any point during this race, but yes, very, 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 very excited. I love watching the real life F1, and I think probably I like watching this a little bit more. It's just, yeah, very, very.
The air temp is 72 Fahrenheit. Okay, get ready.
1, 2, 3, 4,
Let's go.
5.
2 litres remaining.
And we're lights out for the Japanese Grand Prix as we got Julie Redmond with a healthy amount of wheel spin there. She shoots right back down to the grid. Oh, Potts gets an excellent start, covering off any fend of a challenge there. Brandon looking up the inside of Miranda there, choosing to keep safe on the first race. Oh, we got a spinner there from one of the Wolfpacks. Oh, and a bit of a mash-up into turn 1. Right at the back of the grid there, we got a few of those blue cars off. I think both the BE cars got connected there, unfortunately. Trying to keep in through these S's. Everybody else is in single file, pretty much the only way round. Couple of drivers losing out there right at the very start. That's not what you want. That's definitely not what you want. You spend all that time practicing and qualifying in all those hours, and it's all over in the first 1 or 2 corners. Oh, we've got one of the turning points off. Is that Corey Schatzer? Is he going to recover it before the end of Degma 2? We got this. Is crazy. The melee is strong. The melee is very, very, very strong tonight. Bad weekend already for the Wolfpack racing team. I've seen that car go off already twice on lap 1. All at the back of the pack though. all at the back of the pack. These guys at the front are having a whale of a time. Potts holding the lead, strong. Turner in P2. Steltflug right on his gearbox from 2x2, hurrah! Shanna and Gutenek. Shanna having a much better race already than he did last week. Too much to keep up with. Walker's managed to keep himself out of danger for lap 1 and he's in P6. Miranda's lost a place or two but is safe and without damage, unlike her teammate there. Brandon looking at the outside. Will he get it done before 130R? Commits. Oh! Oh! Walker's off! Walker's off! Oh!
Oh, and it's coming right in front of a car!
Oh! That was about as close as it could get.
Corey Schartzer just missing it.
He likes a close call, Corey, doesn't he? He's had a few of those this season. Oh!
And that's lap 1.
Does he have damage? Does he have damage? That's a quick survey of the car there. I just think that was a moment. I think he just went wide, got caught on the curb, and it just brings you round. The inside leading edge gets caught on the outside leading edge of the curb, and it just rails the car off. You're leaning on the outside of the car so hard. Potts is doing his best to get away here. Miranda's doing the fight. We've got Rodrigo Miranda, good new member from Turning Point Racing, got right into one of the leading constructors with the first drive here, and Redman on the beat already, pressuring big time. God, it's all very tight, isn't it? These guys, the rhythm today is strong. They're still really, really, really close, all the way back to P8.
So we had I believe 6 drivers go off at the beginning. First lap of that race. Walker, Buddy Boggs, Steve Bunting, Collins, Rory Collins, I think was in a little bit. Nick Marshall, Stuart Gibbons, and it looks like Eric Beddoes is still in the pits from his damage from that first lap. So really tough break for a few drivers here at the beginning of the Japanese Grand Prix. Jake Potts almost 3/4 of a second out in front of Matt Turner at the moment. The closest battle we see on the racetrack right now is Julie Redmond trying to catch Miranda in the new Turning Point livery there. Just under 0.2 of a second separates the two. That's just a little bit off braking. We've seen last week Julie got a little too close, outbraked herself and spun out. She's going to be a little bit more careful this weekend to make sure that she's up front and gets that position she deserves, but currently starting out the race in P7, so not doing too bad.
She just had that bit of a moment at the start, didn't we? She just copped a big amount of wheel spin pulling off the start, which means she must have been absolutely raring to go, because these cars have only got 250 horsepower and it's quite the task to get them to spin up. You've got to pretty much drop the clutch on a massive amount of revs, but she will be looking to recover. We know she's much faster than her current standings, as she was in the top 5 there with these. She should be up there with these leading guys there. I think we're seeing Potts here. I really do think we're seeing something reverberate from one of the things I mentioned in practice. I think Potts has got a slightly higher downforce package than these two Cuda cars, because through the first sector he seems to pull away, and then through the second and third sector on the back straight that gap seems to come down again. So again, look, it's already come down. So that margin that he seems to have coming out of sector 1 every single time just seems to be squashed quite significantly in moments like this. And another thing I can't help but notice is they've got 2 cars there. So whatever it is Cuda are thinking, they're right, line of stand. I mean, that's pretty much the same location in the race. From there, either one of those drivers can upset Potts, and Potts hasn't got any backup. I mean, you've got 2 behind, but that isn't the same team, is it? That is not the same team. That is the sister team. So it depends on how well they want to play ball. It's a shame Redmond isn't there to back the Cuda guys up in the sister team for them as well, but the gaps are just still super tight, isn't it? We've been racing now for quite a while. No safety cars as of yet, and the gaps up front are still really close, as Redmond's really starting to compress this now.
But these two are not battling very hard, and they're catching Alexander Shannon there in 5th place, and now they're pulling him into the battle now for 5th position. So Miranda doesn't want to allow Redmond to get by. So she's going to try to get by Shanna if she can. And, you know, Shanna's right there running right behind his teammate, Alex Gutneck. So he doesn't want to give up that position because that's some really good points for his team. And he makes a mistake going through that first sector. That's what I'm talking about now. Miranda is right on his bumper. He goes offline, and she's going to try to dive to the inside.
Yeah.
He's gonna hold her off pretty nicely. But this is that long straightaway. They're going to have the draft. She's going to be right on his toe and going to have a chance. This is a fairly fast right-hand corner. Not going to chance it. But Shanna goes off track just a little bit, and now Miranda's going to use the long uphill right-hander to get to the inside and be side by side, but Shanna's going to have the inside line, going to try the crossover move. Shanna doing a great defensive drive right now, not having the greatest pace, but he's holding these ladies back and allowing his teammate to get a little ways away.
I feel a lot of patience and self-discipline from Rodrigo there. This is Shanna's made quite a few significant mistakes now. I was just about to start, as this race is unfolding quicker than we can talk about it. It's good when it's like this because it's pure racing. So these guys, when you're in a train like this, of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cars, one little tiny mistake is the difference between offensive and defensive driving. Because they're so close together, they're only a second apart, most of these guys, or if that, a couple of 2/10. So right now, Miranda's actually in a terrible position because now we're seeing it right now on the camera. You've only got to get one corner, not quite optimal, and you've gone from attacking to defending in literally 10 meters. As we see Redmond trying to make the most of a tardy exit there. What's the downforce package difference got to say? Oh, inside. Miranda's strong on the outside, but Redmond doesn't want to give it up. Oh, see, trying to spin.
Shanna goes around. In turn number 1, gets it going back straight, but for the 3rd week in a row, Shanna's having a rough time keeping the wheels underneath that car.
That was a lot of pressure. I felt that building up, didn't you? It went strong for a few 3, 4, 5 laps there, and then just one little tiny mistake. You feel it coming. So the small mistake that you mentioned in the first sector, where he just went slightly offline in front of Miranda, became a lock-up slightly later on, which then becomes an off-track in the next lap, which then eventually ends up a spin. It just winds slightly. Unless you can calm yourself down, they just get worse until you spin. And then one spin leads to 2 spins and 3 spins, as we often see, which has put Shanna straight under attack from Schatzer and Brandon Walker. It's put him in a whole nother fight, because these guys don't want to give up nothing too.
But we look at Walker. Walker behind is running kind of a rough lap. He's kind of offline, going off track here and there. So Walker having a rough start. He's currently in the points in 10th position right now. You see him hit the curb right there. So love to see if Walker has close. It, but
we need to zip back to the lead because Turner is right on. This is crazy.
Whoa, that happened fast. Potts must have had an issue.
Oh, both drivers being. This is leader quality. The quality's different when you look at the fights that are this bit further up the field. Both these drivers are just in a field a pace of a little bit more than the racing we were just looking at. So I expect this to be a little bit more cutthroat. But Turner's bridged the gap. Turner has bridged the gap, and Steltflug's just dropping back slightly. He is not gone from this fight, but he has not managed to bridge that gap. It's really, really difficult to do that. You trail around for 5 laps with an equal gap with the guy in front, really trying to make his way, and then you just advance and you just crush that gap. And Potts wasn't having any of it, was he? He covered it off well, defended properly, got the exit out and covered it off, and he's now got a couple of 4/10ths lead.
We're going to take a look at what happened to get these two together.
Did he have a moment?
Not sure. I mean, it looks like Nick Marshall might have had an issue at the beginning, but I'm not sure what exactly happened with those two to get Potts there. But that's as close as Matt Turner got to Jacob Potts, and now he's losing about a 10th lap.
Oh. Bit of body language on Turner's car there. He doesn't want to give this one up. I do feel like he's driving that car slightly harder than Potts is having to keep that same pace. I'm interested
and now
today.
Skudnik's off! Alex Gutenek backwards off the racetrack. Now 10th position when he finally gets it back going straight. So tough break, and Matt Turner's on Jacob Potts again.
This is crazy down the back straight. I definitely think we've got this downforce thing going on because he's able to outbrake him every time. So although he got the ground on him, he's gonna do it again here. So I'm just gonna keep my eye on the braking distances here. I just want to know because obviously with more wing comes more braking capability. You can leave it later, and I think Gutenek's got more wing. Look, he can just throw it into the corner. Look, that Kuda car just drops back straight away. I really do think we're seeing a difference of two different cars here. So as you're watching these guys fight, if we continue to watch this progress over the next few laps, I do think that where Turner's gaining this ground is up the straight. And look, we can see it now. I mean, obviously we know there's dirty air, and that will take an effect anyway. But if you throw two F3 cars on with an equal setup, you know they can follow on this track. But he's just got that superior pace, and right now it's gone back the other way. So it just flicks back to Turner, and this whole gap. Oh, as we see, Matt Turner had a bit of a flicker there on camera. That 6 or 7 tenth gap will just come down over the next 4 or 5 corners. See, look, already.
Oh, Jacob Potts spins, and it's a big wreck. Jacob Potts is out. Whoa! What a drive! We'll take a peek at what happened.
Was he catch the curb or was it just him at his own? Unbelievable day. Napsa. That's painful to see. He'd done such a great job to that point. As Turner just watches the race. Envelope out in front of him now. What a gift from the gods. Unbelievable for for Potts there.
Wow, what a way to, I mean, Matt Turner, I'm sure he was really liking that he had a battle, but what a way to make it to where the battle's with the guy behind you now, and the guy behind you is your teammate.
Yeah. And he's just set the fastest lap. Oh! This is crazy. Matt Steltflug setting the pace. How are they going to play that? I do feel like Turner was... it's difficult when you've got a car. From the beginning of the race up until now, up until obviously Potts dipped it there, Turner had a face full of car. And for the first time since then has been able to stare at a nice free piece of track to just do what you with. But Steltflug, I'm definitely going to keep my eye on that 1.6 second gap that's currently there because I just don't think Steltflug's messing around today.
And now look at this. Look at this. We have got Redmond and Miranda, who were battling for 7th and 8th place 2 laps ago, now battling for a podium position for 3rd and 4th place right now, and they're only 4 seconds behind the leader, Matt Turner.
This is exactly what I said, isn't it? Caitlin's not here. Turner, Kuda Works have got the opportunity here. If they do this, I think this is much more than I expected of them. I thought they were. I said, didn't I? My on-tape recording was if Turner wins this, and Matt manages to get a good 10 or 15 points in the bag, they could take that lead. But this is Maximo damage, right now. Maximo damage because Matt Steltflug, I haven't seen him contact anyone. I haven't seen Turner contact anyone. So unless I'm missing something here or watching a different race. Both of those drivers at present should have 0 times penalty, so they'll get the extra point for that. One of them will get the extra point for that. One of them sat there with the fastest lap, and they're sat with the 2 highest positions in the race. Those guys are staring at a potential perfect weekend. A perfect weekend for the first time in their partnership as drivers. And obviously we know they were partners in season 1 under the guise of Teal Racing. Before they were brought in to the work seat at the Kuda Works F3 team when the division split to go to F2 and F3, and this is it. So if they manage to convert this, I mean, I don't want to speak too early because we are on lap 9 of 26. There is a long and twisty road ahead to navigate to the finish line, but it is looking so. And actually Steltflug's catching. He's actually pinching the gap up. They may have to manage this as a team, you know. Steltflug is no way near the championship fight, is he? He's not. Oh! They're really not that far behind. Yeah. We've got massive compression going on here. Massive compression. So I'm looking from the drone cam and the camera, and so I'm flying some 100 meters above the circuit. And the situation at present is Steltflug, as they came over the line there, was 7/10 up on his teammate. Unbelievably quicker than his teammate Turner, who's trying his best to scamper away with the lead here. We know you want to beat your teammate, and we know these guys have never been in this position before, so I'm really intrigued to see how they deal with it as a team. And the other type of compression is Miranda and Redmond are really not that far behind. They are right on this. These Corda Works guys are one mistake away from having the same disastrous weekend as Potts, who is unfortunately DNF. Oh my god, that hurts to say that.
Our first retirement, that was a very hard hit he took, and it was very fast. You know, we rolled along with him, and all of a sudden he's pointed at the wall, and within a second you're into it, and it's gone.
Yeah, that was
We're currently taking a look right now at Brandon Walker. He was back in 10th place, struggling just a little while ago. We were talking about him, and he's now up to 7th and working his way up. He almost was on Luke Smith's tail, made one little mistake, and he lost about 3/10 there, but currently working his way up with a couple failures. He's trying to get up into 6th position right now.
And that's it. We see him have that moment early on in the race when he was fighting with, I can't remember who he was fighting with, I think it was Gutnik. And we see him catch the edge of the curb that he's just coming past now, the exit curb. So he's staying well off it this time. If you catch that curb, you just tend to... Oh, as Miranda sets the fastest lap now, so my theory of compression is correct as the gap at the front gets even closer. But yeah, Brandon Walker, we see here just catching... Oh, as we see Shanna in the pit lane there, maybe this... Yeah, so we see the first of the scheduled pitters there. They've got a mandatory pit to serve during this race for both fuel and tyres. But yeah, Brandon caught the exit curb of 130R earlier on, and it sent his car sliding sideways. So that's his recovery drive, and we see him in P6 right now. So doing a sterling job of calling himself back. But his teammate sat in P4, still trying to pressure. At the moment, the pace setter there in P3. Miranda seeing what he can do to push forward and pressure these two Kuda Works guys, who at the moment have had it their own way today. But the gap is still less than a second. This is amazing work from the Kuda Works guys now. We haven't seen Steltflug be able to back his teammate up fully like this in the whole season. This is absolutely fabulous stuff from these guys. All hinged on one mistake though, isn't it? I mean, these guys can take it. These guys can take it. They've been here for donks now. These two at the front, I'm pretty sure have been here since the start of season 1, so they've been here for all 40 of these races. But at the same time, your name's Matthew Steltflug, and you're less than a second away from your first win. Talk about dangle the carrot and prioritise. Oh my god, it's super compression there. Did you see the gap come down? He gained 3/10 in one braking zone. Steltflug is not messing about today. I wonder if they're running different setups, you know.
They could be. They are two totally different drivers. They do work on the same team, but I know Matt Turner is very particular about his setups, so he tends to run something that's totally different than everybody else. So I would not be surprised if these two shared notes and compared a few things, but are probably not on the exact same setup car. But they're both driving it very nicely, sticking up front. They're keeping Miranda a good almost 2 seconds back. So if they can continue to do that, as long as they don't start battling and lose time and allow Redmond and Miranda to catch up, I think they should be pretty good until these qualifying, but or until these pit stops. But like you said, I believe a few races ago, we've learned that the undercut does not work. So you really have to watch and pay attention and not let anybody get the best of you. You gotta run your strategy, and if you see someone behind you who's not pitting, you really can't go in because you know they're gonna get by you, especially if they're within a second or two behind you and they're that close. You really cannot afford for them to run an extra 6 laps under green while you're spending 3 laps getting your tires warmed up. It just doesn't work out, and you end up losing that space, and you may be close enough on track to where you can battle, but now instead of being in front, you're behind. And instead of just having to take a defensive line, you have to figure out how to get around that driver in front of you cleanly, and you may never know how many laps you've got to get that done.
Yeah, and here, a lot less. You've got a nice long lap here, so the amount of laps that you've got, the amount of times that you're going to go over this course is a lot less. But this is just a really, really tough one to call. Yeah, if we could go on with Steltflug there, I just want to see if there's a difference between Steltflug's lap and... actually, this gap's quite tight now, isn't it? Brandon Walker all over the back of Smith there. Can't really do anything with it coming into this section. The corners are just too fast. Obviously, we know that you need a significant braking zone to outbrake someone, and through that sector 1, it just makes you do the exact opposite of that. But yeah, Brandon looking to take one more position. That will move him up to P5. And he's got to get this done because Schatz is all over the back of him. Boggs into the pits there. Gibbons has already done his pits. Shannon moves up. Walker on the hunt. Big time.
Julie Redmond right on Miranda's back bumper within 3/10 for 3rd position. And the space for the lead's only at 7/10. So it's battles heating up here up front for the podium positions.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could call this a fight for the lead. They are all really close. I mean, any one of these drivers, as we've seen, is one mistake away from payable on death, man. That was the most abrupt exit I've seen from one of these races in a long time, and that was obviously if we're just tuning in now. We had a pretty good start.
And
to this
Julie
Grand Prix.
Redmond almost takes it side by side through that corner. You can't do that there.
Thinks better of it going into 130R there. It's just a bit of a gnarly section, that, isn't it? It's too fast, and these cars definitely both drivers would have to kill a hell of a lot of speed to be able to.
And Matt Steltflug's in pit lane.
Now that really is a shot fired. Now that is an aggressive move from Steltflug. That's going to put him out. I will just keep my cam by the pits while you keep on with this fight now.
And Julie Redmond sticks the inside line. She's going to take the spot from Miranda. That's going to move her up to 2nd position. Rodrigo Miranda not going to let her go away with it. It's been 14 laps that they've been out front, so not going to give up that position lightly, but now they've got to stay in line. Now that Julie's got in front, they've got to stay in line because Matt Steltflug just made a pit stop, and if they want to stay out in front of him, they need to get as much time as they can in order to get that time gained instead of losing time battling side by side. But it looks like Miranda got a little thrown off by that entry and is just having to compose herself and let them tires cool back down to minimize that risk, because as we saw with Jacob Potts, it only takes 3 seconds to destroy your race and bring you from leader to last place. So
That's it,
you definitely have to be careful. I know Julie Redmond, she's got something going on in her head right now, because she's had a couple mistakes, and it's really eating her up. And now look where she's at. She's up second place right now, putting on a great show for the Japanese Grand Prix, as we are halfway through the race now. 13 laps complete, 13 more laps to go. Matt Turner currently out in front by almost 4 seconds over Julie Redmond and Rodrigo Miranda.
That's it. I'm just trying to keep my eye on Steltflug. Today we are going to see the true effects of a pit stop like I don't think we've ever seen before, because they were all so close. These drivers were all separated.
And Matt Turner's on pit road. Sorry to interrupt, but Turner, our leader, now on pit road. The CUDA guys taking turns. Maybe they're going to come back out and be with each other. We'll see what happens as Brandon Walker's going to make a move on Luke Smith going down the front straightaway. He's going to opt to take the outside. Luke's going to take the defensive line on the inside.
This is crazy stuff. This is crazy stuff. I mean, we'll just keep an eye on where Turner comes out, ahead or behind his teammate. That's the interesting thing I just want to see right now. You keep on this spot. Brandon's doing excellent there. As we're looking at a stopped Matt Turner.
And Turner comes out in front of Steltflug. Not much, but still out in front.
He's just gained a little bit, but Steltflug will probably reduce that gap quite significantly with just that 1 lap extra times. We know the rules in the IFL. You have to treat it like you have the same pit box, even though iRacing isn't like that. So these guys were so close together, they would have had to negotiate that and pit 1 lap after another and stagger them. And Steltflug will, I'm sure, do his best now to reclaim that, as this is getting really feisty now in the midfield, isn't it? And Redmond holding the lead there. But yeah, we know she's got a pit yet, but this is already a slightly different strategy than the other two. Unless she pits now. Because she had the option to pit when either of those two pitted and didn't, so she might be running slightly heavier and be able to just push and stay away from, obviously, these guys we know have got pretty clean traffic, as we see Brandon there desperately trying to break the toe from what is a train of cars behind him. And this is terrible when you're in Brandon's position, because one mistake is 4 positions. You've got to just keep it all, and for when you're in the position you are as well, you've had that initial mistake as Brandon had. Oh, this is super close now, coming through the turns 17 and 18. Walker into the pits, calling it. Yes! Oh! This is good stuff. Corey losing the most there out of this fight. He's managed to just snip onto the back of this train, but yeah, they were all very fair to each other in that last little exchange there. It got very close. Epic. So this is just pit conversion. That was that must have been an absolutely fantastic little push there of lap times to just I mean, they were so close together, you only needed to gain half a second and you're in there. But Steltflug doesn't want this and is on it straight away, and we know Miranda's can't mess around with the cold tyres there, and Steltflug's been on this set now for what, 2.5 laps, so he will be punchier with this. We haven't seen a lot of aggression from Steltflug this season, but if there is any in there, we need it now. I don't think he's going to want to see his teammate drive off into the distance like this. Up until this point in the race, he had everything he needed to answer Turner. Come on, Steltflug, but this is a great showing. This is an absolutely fantastic showing from Miranda right now. First race and smashing it up there in the podium slot, giving it with the big time already. Nice, tasty apex there from Steltflug. Let it run out wide. He's going to get the draft all the way down here. He's going to have to get it done. Oh, this is another one of these leaders that is going to filter out into this fight. This very fight. This exact same bit of track as Steltflug's just using Valor as the better discretion there. Oh, I can't call this. Here we go. We're just going to see where Redmond funnels out into this. This is gonna be crazy tight as we come round into turn 1. As Matt Turner comes over the finish line there, Steltflug's on the hunt. Redmond pulls away. Turner gets the lead. Redmond gets up to speed. She's gonna be right in the thick of this. She's just at the back of that train, but she's right there. She's gonna have the coldest tyres of everyone. Oh, as we see. Oh, it's not over. Cover it off. Beautiful stuff. Rodrigo, yeah. That little buff, yeah. Yeah. 24 degrees. Walker out! What happened there? Walker out! No! He's just flying down the order now, so it's just happened. Whatever that was, I got a bad feeling about that. Sorry to jump in there, but we've had our second DNF of the day in Brandon Walker, unfortunately, from the Cuda Evo team. So not there to back up his teammate Julie Redmond, who is on the best race of her. Well, she's only been here for 2 races, and she didn't do bad last time. So we've got some great drivers joining the IFL. Just wonder what happened there to Brandon Walker. Really, really, really unfortunate to see him go out there. He had some good pace today. He had that unfortunate start for the race. Obviously, for those of us that are just joining, we had a great start. We saw Alex Potts actually fly away with the lead and deprive these 2 Cuda guys of what is now at the moment a provisional P1 and P2. And as we see Gutenek. Yeah, these guys have yet to pit, haven't they? Gutenek, Smith and Schatz are there. So Turner and Steltflug are provisionally in P2. But not so far into the race, we saw Potts make a very small but massively costly mistake there that just put him straight in the wall at the exit of the hairpin, and it was just absolutely disastrous, and that was it. That was our first DNF of the day. And since then, we got a driver off in the last hairpin there. I think one of the BE racing cars. But yeah, it put those 2 Cuda drivers in the best position they've been in. And since then, I mean, we know Redmond got a bit of a tardy start. She's just on the back of this chasing pack now, in provisional 4th position with the coldest set of the leaders' tyres out of that leading 4. But yeah, these guys are just racing for their life today, aren't they? Couple tenths here, couple tenths there, up and down the grid. It's just really, 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 really close, really close. Is this Gutenek? No, Gutenek's going to run long. And so is Smith. So we've got a couple of drivers choosing to take the really long ones. Lap 18 of 26 now. These top 3 yet to pit. So we still should see this position change, but yeah.
And Gutenek takes the pit lane along with Corey Schertzer. So 2 of the top 3 coming out as we're riding along with Matt Turner as he comes through the final chicane here of the Suzuka circuit. He's going to come down and he's going to take those 2 spots back. It's where will Gutenek and Schertzer come out with the rest of the field.
And the only thing I can say is the gap between between Steltflug and Turner has dropped significantly. I think Steltflug is slightly faster today. I really do think that. I think he's just that little bit more confident with this racetrack than Turner is. And I think Turner he's got a lot more to think about. If you think about these 2 drivers as a constructor, as a pairing, Turner's in the fight for the, although it's a long shot, he's definitely still mathematically in the fight for the title. And today has been a gift from the heavens, because his main title protagonist, the only person that's in front of him, isn't here today, and he is in the lead. So this is just maximo damage. His teammate is right behind him, looking a little bit quicker, and he needs to win today. Turner needs to win. He needs every single point he can get between now and the end of the season, because it may get really, really, really close as we return to Europe. But it's going to be moments like this we're going to talk about. This is crazy. This is Turner was having none of it, wasn't he? He blasted past Miranda and got straight back up into P2 and carried on with his day. As Redmond there, just taken a couple of laps to get those tyres back up to temperature, as I do wonder if she'll make a late race advance in these last 6 or 7 laps to try and reclaim that podium spot from Rodrigo. At the moment, having a sterling race sat there in a provisional podium, actually looking like he's hanging there with the pace of the leaders. There is so little to decipher these 3 drivers. It's amazing. And Redmond's right there. 53. So Matt Turner with a 53.4, Steltflug with a 53.3, Miranda with a 53.1, and Redmond with a 53.9 on a slightly colder set of tyres. But they are all so close together.
Yeah, it's not often that we get to see the top 4 drivers with 6 laps to go, all in the same screen, all on the same front straightaway. These guys are very, very close together right now. One little mistake, and that's 4 positions gone, up in smoke. You have maybe a little bit more time. Back to Alex Gutenek, who's a good 10 seconds behind this pack right here, behind Julie Redmond right now. But then there's 3 or 4 drivers in that pack. So one mistake is going to cost you a whole lot. Maybe not as much as it did at the beginning of the race, but it's still going to cost you all that hard work that you put in through the first 3 quarters of this race.
With everything, practice, qualifying, the whole lot, setting up your whole week's work. And it's 4 of the best positions as well, isn't it? It's not just P6, 7, 8, 9, or P9, 10, 11, and 12. It's P1, 2, 3, and 4.
And Matt Stelflug's almost within a second. He was at 1.4 seconds at the start of the last lap. And now he is pushing to get within that second. You know that toe is going to be coming. And obviously, like you said, Turner needs to win this race. He needs those points. But Stelflug hasn't won a race yet this year, and he is hungry. He hasn't had a lot of luck, and he is having one of the greatest races of his season, maybe of his IFL career. And I don't think he's just going to hang it up just because Turner needs an extra 4 or 5 points.
If I know these two, they can't afford to fight. They are in no position to fight, and what I mean by that is they do not have superior pace over Rodrigo and Redmond. If they start fighting, those two are going to be all over the back, and this will just be what you'll go from P1 to P-bin in 1 lap, and it'll all be because of the way you managed it. And you look back at lap after lap after lap after lap of P1, P2 control as a team. We dropped it in half a lap. We started fighting, then those two came on us, then we touched each other. Whoa! It can all just fall apart so quickly, and like you say, all that work. They are going to have to be talking about this. Steltflug was another 2/10 faster on that last lap, but again, Miranda just dropping away that time. So yeah, this is becoming a coup de works race, and they're going to have to talk about this. They're going to have to be talking about this, and it is that, isn't it? You've got Matt needs to win. Matt needs to win. This is crazy. They can't afford to fight. Not like this. Not at this point in the season. Not with the story of the season so far. Not with the points that we've got. They need to play this so cleverly. They've got a chance here to absolutely sock RSR Esports and Caitlin. In the biggest knockout fashion this weekend, and just reclaim some, Matt Turner's P2, P3 most weeks, Caitlin Heights P1, P2 most weeks.
And there's Luke Smith going into the pits. This is going to give Matt Turner the lead once again as he gets ready to come through the final chicane. Matt Stelflug going to take that second spot. Now, where is Luke Smith going to come out? I think he's going to be coming out right behind Julie Redmond. Because he wasn't that far behind when they stayed out. So we'll see where he comes out. He might be a little closer to Gutenek by the time he gets out of the pit lane.
He's just pulling away now.
There it goes. Matt Turner's going to regain the lead of this race.
It's been impressive today. All of them have been impressive. We've said this a couple. This is a genuine statement. I've slipped out of commentator mode into myself here. This has been really impressive to watch. This really impressive. These front 4 or 5 drivers here, they have not put a foot wrong all race. And I've seen no lockups. I've seen no puffs of smoke. I've seen no bit touches. This is a really technical circuit. It's a really technical circuit. I just don't think people realise just how hard it is to stay on the edge, on the limit of this track for this amount of time. It's really difficult. You don't get much gap between the corners, heavy braking zones, and lots and lots and lots of math. We were talking about those corners that one after another they get slightly tighter than the next one. That just puts lots and lots of math on the table and plenty of advantage to be gained for the smarter drivers. And these guys are just, they're so close, as we've seen Redmond starting to squeeze back in there with a personal best of 52.8. That was nearly a whole second faster than Miranda's last lap. So she is comfortable on that second set of tyres now and starting to pull that gap in, as these two Lumos guys are really on Smith now, and they're going to be wanting to take advantage of Smith on these cold tyres. These guys are on well rubbing in. Look, you can see the difference straight away. You just don't have the traction, you don't have the braking, you don't have the mid-corner, and you don't have the corner exit. It's got the draft now, but you need to do it before 130R, because you can't go side by side, and they really are going to come into this corner pretty much side by side. Oh! Close stuff. Deadly stuff there. So they're still fighting going into the hairpin. Losing out one position so far. Can he fend off Shanna there? Gutneck making a breakthrough, and look at that, just by getting the saucy exit on the turn 18 there. Jumping out a huge gap coming down the back straight already, putting Shanna straight on him. Can Shanna redeem something from the early race mistake? He definitely composed himself compared to the first half of this race, making a nice move there. So we'll see. We'll just have a look back on Smith in a couple of laps time to see if his tyres have gained him enough traction. I mean, he stopped really late. Look, lap 23. So we know he had a really heavy car at the start of the race, and he's now got a really light car. But only 2-3 laps to get those tyres up, and then you're at the end of the race. So going for the late stop there, Smith, and it's just lost him a couple of positions there from those Lumos guys. As we see Redmond there, did she just make a mistake?
I think she made a mistake a minute ago. She lost about 2 seconds on Miranda.
Way back now. She's way back. Way back. Big gap now. Big gap.
As Stelflug's got the lead down to 7.8 tenths of a second.
What? Oh, sorry, I was looking at Walker's car. I thought Walker was a DNF. He's not. He's come back out in the pit lane, and I was staring at Walker, and he was miles away from anybody, and I thought it was Redmond. My apologies to the stream there for the confusion. Redmond is still where she was.
Yep, still running 4th place, just about a second and a half off of Rodrigo Miranda there in 3rd place. Our new Brazilian driver making their first appearance here. Currently running 3rd, but the battle right now is between the Kuda Works drivers, Matt Turner and Matthew Stelflug. 1-2 right now. Turner needs the points. Stelflug wants the win. 7/10 of a second separate them with 3 more laps to go around Suzuka.
Yeah, they don't have very long left to do this, do they? So if they're going to do something, or there is a debate to be had, or a team decision, it's got to be now. And Stelflug just keeps applying that pressure. Look, he was a full 5 tenths faster on that last lap. Keeps doing that, and that puts him a second and a half in front by the end of this race, by theory. So is Matt Stelflug going to play the game?
He's got it almost within a half a second. He's about to break that. It looks like Turner made that corner 3/10 of a second faster than Stelflug did, which gives him an extra 10th down that straightaway. So Stelflug just lost all the ground he just gained, but he's still got 2.5 laps to do it. There's a lot of turns, a lot of braking points. Matt Turner's got the pressure on now, and with only 2 more laps to go, he's only got 36 more corners to go.
I've stopped breathing. I need to remember to keep breathing oxygen because we need it to live. But this is just 2 tenths. This is 2 tenths. Yeah, we see Stelflug there. He just committed to Degner 1 and Degner 2 a little bit hard. And you get the willies a bit, really, because the outside leading edge, especially on these cars, they've got a tiny little wheel and a tiny little tyre. and if you go over a curb, your wheel actually falls the other side of the curb. It just straight rails the car off the circuit, and you have no chance of catching it whatsoever. And he sent it through Degner 1 so hard. He went really wide on the exit between Degner 1 and Degner 2, and then exactly the same through Degner 2, which is what the Degners do. And that's why they're called Degner 1 and Degner 2, because if you mess the first one up, you mess the second one up. A little mistake on the first one, as Miranda sets a 52.8 there, which is the fastest lap of the race so far, stealing that point away. So that's a nice little bonus there for the new Brazilian driver. This is his best attempt to apply some really late pressure there, or is he just trying to escape that podium nab there from Redman? I mean, there was absolutely nothing to call between these two laps there. Miranda there with a 52.8 and Redman with a 52.8. Stunning stuff. Both quicker than the leaders there. So Turner was a 153.2 last time around. Steltfler with a 153.4 with that mistake that Rob mentioned in the Degner 1 and Degner 2. Right at the time of the race where Steltfler doesn't need that if he wants to make that advance for the win. And obviously Miranda and Redman there not making any such mistakes and just bringing that gap down and doubling the damage by setting their fastest laps of the race so far. Redman really in on this new set of tyres now. And this is just getting closer, isn't it? This is also... I mean, let's talk a little bit about the psychology that's going to be happening as these guys wind down. Obviously, the pressure is building up. The work that you've put through the entire weekend phase so far is just about to come to a head, and it's the dam of pressure is just about to burst. Turner's got it. He's got it in his bag, and the one person that's applying any sort of real pressure today is his own teammate, which is just basically the last thing that you want. If you're Steltflug, this is the best race you've ever had. There's going to be something inside you that's just wanting to scream, "I've got better pace today!" We can see it. He can see it. Matt Turner's not run away with this. Steltflug's just been sat there the entire race with an answer for everything Turner's got pace-wise. As we move on to the last lap, Miranda's making a real push for this now. I think she's just hit the flip point between offensive and defensive. I don't think there's any more defensive thinking going on, as Miranda's just going to look ahead at whether either one of these CUDA drivers makes a mistake on this last lap. And if they don't, what a weekend these guys have had. The first Perfect Works weekend. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to watch these guys come around these last few corners. And what... Stunning race by Rodrigo as well. Stunning race. I mean, you're a second off a win. A couple seconds off a win in your first race. I mean, that's just shots fired, isn't it? That's absolutely shots fired straight away. That's something to think about in your week off when you come back to the next race, which will be Imola. Oh! 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 No! On the last lap, Julie Redmond spins out. It's not going to cost her anything. It isn't going to cost her anything because the immense pace that we've seen up to this point has put her up there with the guys way ahead. But that was just that's it, the limit, isn't it? Push, 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 push. And she's just really fortunate this day that in the gap where she's sat now and the gap where she just was, there isn't 7 cars. Because as you see, these top few, if she was sat in the lead of this little train there, that's it, weekend gone. As we see Matt Turner come round for another well-deserved win from what's been a pretty crazy race to top out what will be a CUDA 1-2 for the first time with these two guys as teammates. In their history of teammates, what a perfect weekend for those guys. And what a perfect weekend for Miranda. I mean, I know that P1 and 2 feel better, but you can't hope for more. You come and you hope to have a safe race, and you finish P3 on your first race. Epic stuff there. Redmond bringing in P4 there. Storms over the line into turn 1. Gutneck taking P5. Easing it off now. Smith P6 there. Scharzer P7. Shanna taking P8 as we see him absolutely decimate the car into P1. I definitely feel some frustration there from Alexander Shanna. And Collins there, Stuart Collins there in P9. Buddy Boggs in P10. Rounding out the points positions, Steve Bunting in P11. We see a tough weekend for BE Racing again. And the lap down cars, Gibbons, Beddoes, Marshall and Walker. And obviously our only DNF of the day, we have to mention the early pace setter, Jacob Potts. I really feel for that guy. Just like you said earlier, Rob, the speed at which that accident happened. The car looked hooked up, didn't it? It came out the hairpin and it looked like a tasty exit, just like all the lot. And at the very last minute, it just flipped round. And when it goes at the end of your acceleration zone like that, you're at the fastest point and you've got the least amount of chance to catch. He had no hope of catching that. And it just sent him straight into having no wheels. I just can't believe it. Absolutely mega stuff there. Fantastic win there for Matt Turner. I mean, that's going to be big blow for RSR Esports, and I do believe that will actually put the CUDA Works team in the lead of the Constructors Championship, and it will put Turner a long way into to the advantage. I mean, Caitlin, when she sees this race, when if she couldn't make it for one reason or another, you look back to the race to see what happened. This is the worst thing on all fronts that could have happened to both team and title and drivers. This is the worst thing. They have absolutely maximised the damage that they could have done today. Steltflug, less than a second off of a race win. Oh, I wonder how he's feeling in that cockpit right now. I bet that is all over the place. I bet he feels happy, angry, everything. I bet that's a whole big ball of emotions there. Some absolutely fantastic drives there. Just hats off to Jacob Potts there. So we'll round this out. Matt Turner with a fantastic lead. Matthew Steltflug making it an all CUDA front row there. Brilliant maximum points for those guys. Rodrigo Miranda taking the fastest lap and a well-deserved debut podium. Julie Redman in P4 there taking a handful of points. Alex Gutenecht in P5. Luke Smith in P6. Corey Schartzer in P7. Alexander Shanna P8. Absolutely fantastic drive from Rory Collins and Buddy Boggs rounding out the top 10 as our points finishers. Steve Bunting in P11, Stuart Gibbons in P12, Nick Marshall P13, Eric Beddoes in P14, Brandon Walker in P15, and a very solemn Jacob Potts in P16 with a DNF. He will be kicking himself so hard over that result there. But yeah, we'll try and get the top three in for their interview. I want to hear some of these emotions.
What a crazy race, Lewis. First, Caitlin Height and Cristiano Schegetman, two of the most main protagonists that we've had in the IFL 3 here this season, don't show up. We have a few new drivers, Rodrigo Miranda, Julie Redman, even Brandon Walker is fairly new to the league, and they were running up front. We've got Miranda and Redman P3 and P4. Julie Redman has been on the verge of a podium every single race that she's been in here in the IFL, and she's just itching for one, so we know she's pushing hard. We've seen that mistake at the last lap, just pushing and giving everything she had to gain that second and a half that she had lost to Miranda to try to get that podium spot. An incredible drive by our new drivers. Alex Gutenecht finishing in 5th, one of our fastest drivers in the league, and we've got two new drivers out here really making him work for that 5th place position that he ended up finishing in today. And so it's the dynamic is changing. We've got 4 more races to go. Quite a few points left to go for the midfield, and we're really starting to see some competitive drivers come in here and take some points away from people that probably expected them to get them points.
Yeah, it's freshening things up big time, isn't it? And this weekend we've actually got all 3 of our podium sitters ready to take their interview, so that's a stunning thing as well. So we're going to hear a flood of emotions. I think this is going to be one of the more pleasant podiums that we've had of the season. So without further ado, we will get in his debut race, Rodrigo Miranda into the booth with us. Rodrigo, mega, absolutely mega. How do you feel?
I feel great. I just wanted to say that I feel great for this. I've always wanted to join a league, and to get a P3 on the first race of my league is amazing.
Yeah, we know that one of the most important things from the paddock chat, you were talking that you really wanted to prioritize just getting a clean race, just get from start to finish, and yeah, the strong result will hopefully come, and you've absolutely started this one rolling at 2 seconds off of a race win as well. You were really close there.
Yeah, it was so cool. The start of the race, I was like, okay, I have to be the cleanest possible because be consistent and have a good pace will pay off on the Formula 3. And by the end of the race, I was like, okay, when I was had to pit, I was like, okay, I have to do the undercut to overpass Julie. I got less fuel on the car, and I was like saving fuel at the end of the race, and I just finished the race with no fuel on the car.
Oh, very tight. I can hear the smile on your face. I can hear
Yes.
how happy you are. It's really, really good, and especially the fact that you're not used to league racing, and
No,
it's
not
something special.
not used to league race and not used to Formula 3. I got the car like 2 weeks ago or something.
And we've
There you
learned
go.
over our time that getting a podium in the IFL, the F3 or even the F2 division, it's not easy. We have a very, very stacked group of cars with some immense competition. And some drivers, it takes, years. It takes races. I can't remember. We had Chris Byram in the F2, one of our top contenders every single week, and he just got his first win just a little while ago. I had raced 18 races before I got my first podium. It does take a lot to get in here. So what a drive you put down. New to the league, new to the car, a podium, man. P3. What was going through your mind when you saw that Julie Redmond was catching you? She ended up getting past you, and you got her on pit strategy, but what was going through your mind as you could see her catching up to you lap after lap?
I was just focusing on the exit of the corners. I was like, I'm gonna go very slow on the entry to force her to brake early too, and get a good exit and try to break her draft on me, and like focus really hard to not miss some corners that I have some problems on doing.
Yeah, true raw defense. That's nice. I mean that really is how you defend, isn't it? That's defending with a lap time rather than cutting on the track and getting stuck in with the fighting. That's just trying to do something different to try and pull away. Did absolutely amazing today. Absolutely amazing for your first drive. And yeah, and this is something you can grow and build from as well. So you get to come back in 2 weeks' time and continue and race these guys again. And you get to stare at these same cars again and try to better that. And you've not really got many positions to try and better that. You've only got 2 steps to go higher than 3.
Yeah, I'm so happy with this race. And can I say something like
Yeah.
the support that I have from the people?
Yep.
I would like to thank the support from my sponsor, the Fast M. They give me a great support to do those races, and they like are more than a sponsor to me. So I'm really thankful that they are backing me up to this, and then managed to got P3 on my first race.
Well, that's it. There, you've heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. So drivers with backup and help, it bang, podium shot straight away. This is it. There are more steps to take and more stones to be uncovered of where to find pace and gain. This is great. That's the first driver we've seen with a bit of pro backing and a self sponsor, as it were. But and talking about your team as well, and your team owner Louis Cologne, who we know drives the F2. He's got to be sitting there rubbing his great big hands together right now, thinking, I've lost one good driver in Cristiano Schegerman because he moved up to F2, and I've replaced it with another absolutely amazing driver straight away.
He actually already messaged me saying like it was a brilliant drive from me, and he's really happy.
Yes, yes, good stuff. So, and these are all the perks that come with league racing: being part of a team, being driving and racing around other teams, and witnessing team play and the team play. You can be there. So, as a team, you've got an objective to get Corey Charter up there with you guys, so you can play the 2-car fiddle like the other teams had today. But dude, absolutely mega stuff. We're going to move on to our other two guys. Is there anything else you want to shout out before we move on?
Nah, for me, I'm just gonna rest right now because I'm really tired. It's really hot today here. So I'm just gonna take a shower and relax now.
And just enjoy the moment. Enjoy the moment. Dude, enjoy the celebrations, and we will catch you in 2 weeks' time at Imola.
Alright, guys,
Good
bye
stuff.
guys.
Oh, yeah, crazy stuff. I could literally hear the smile on his face. Brilliant stuff. As we get our second place, this is the highest finish we've had from Matt Steltflug, so I expect a very emotional Steltflug as well. We'll bring him in. Mr. Stel,
Hey, Lewis.
how do you feel after that one?
It's a great feeling. This is my first podium. I might have been a bit overdue, but to be there 1 and 2 with my teammate is fantastic.
Yeah, there was many there. So much to talk about. So much to talk about. Really feel for. I mean, obviously not for you guys because you're in a team directing competition. So it must have been absolutely amazing watching that happen in front of you guys when you see that guy that just managed to pip you guys in qualifying. I mean, that was all the sensational qualifying session. And then he just managed to get that perfect race start. And when he made that mistake, you guys must have just been thinking, "Oh God, this is ours today."
Yeah, no, cheers. Yeah, Matt called it. We're on the radio together the whole time, and Matt called it out, and that pots had spun, and first thing is like, oh man, I hope I don't hit debris. I hope I don't get collected. But I saw he had a missing front, at least one missing wheel, and I was like, oh, he's not going anywhere. So presumably he towed. And yeah, and then from that point on, I was trying not to get in my own head and racing my mirrors too much, because Rodrigo had pace, and I saw Julie back there and the relative as well. So it was mostly just trying to stay out of my own head and keep looking forward at Matt, right?
That's it, isn't it? It is stay out your own head. It's so important to do that. We've seen so many drivers up and down the grid now get into great positions like this and just get 13 laps up the road and then just drop it. And all that hard work just turns into a result like all the rest. And
yeah, we stayed. It feels crazy to say this, but we stayed on Plan A just the entire way. As you probably saw, we didn't have to call an audible. We didn't have to really adjust to anything. We ran our race just A to B, right? We pitted as planned. The pitting was a little interesting. You saw me and Rodrigo come out, very much together through sectors 1 and 2. But I had 1 lap better tires than him, and I was able to make a move eventually. But the car was perfection. We practiced a lot this week. We had plans for most eventualities. I think we had a lot of preparation for this race. Yeah.
And it showed. I mean, as we'll talk a little bit about the season as a campaign as well. You guys have just dealt the biggest and most massivest knockout blow you possibly could to both RSR Esports and Caitlin Height in both areas. So you guys just took the constructors title. So you've just taken the lead, and that, yeah. So that's it. You guys are now sat in P1 in the constructors title, and it's just helped Matt take a huge jump back from the deficit that it's that was just when she watches this race back, that's just going to be exactly what you don't want to see. If there was a reason that you had to miss a race for whatever personal reasons, and you come back and watch this race, that you're going to go, no, that's exactly what I didn't want to happen. You guys have just dealt maximum damage, absolute maximum damage.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, that's interesting to hear. I knew it would be close. I didn't realize that we leapfrogged. That's awesome.
And you did last round as well, so you moved from P3 to P2 last race, jumping turning point, and you've just done it again. So hats off to you guys for as a team, crawling your way up the constructors standings and putting it on the top there. Good luck for the remaining 4 races. But dude, go and bask in the glory and the party with your team. We're gonna put any more shout outs that you want to do before we pass on to the race leader.
Yeah, we better get to Matt, but yeah, shout out to my teammate in the 23 car. Thanks to the CUDA org and the team's just awesome. Great group all around. And to my boys back at North Loop Motorsports in the Endurance Garage. So thanks again.
Yeah, big stuff, dude. And we will see you in 2 weeks in Imola, buddy.
Very good.
Amazing drive for Matt Stelflug, finishing P2, his highest finish in the IFL this season. or ever in his, and he's got a nice podium to back it up. But coming up, we have the man of the hour, Matt Turner, the winner of the Japanese Grand Prix. Matt Turner, congratulations. You needed the win today. You did everything you needed to do it. You held off your teammate. It looked like it could have been a toss-up between which one of you two was actually going to take this. Congratulations on the win, Matt. What did it take to take home P1 and them 25 crucial points?
Thanks very much. Yeah, very much enjoyed today's race. Big help having my teammate Matt right there next to me. Seemed like we had similar pace for the most part. Just tried to make sure that the tyres were keeping in a good window. And yeah, very happy, very pleased.
Many emotions mixing up. That was, so many things to talk about. I mean, we've just discussed this with, obviously it's live. You're not going to have had the chance to chat about this with Steltflug yet, but he seemed very calm. He seemed very calm after all of that pressure and all of that. I mean, that's the best finishing position that he's had, and I mean, he was a second away from his first win. Like, yeah, just absolutely crazy for you guys. And so yeah, firstly, absolutely mega congratulations on another win. Obviously, we see Caitlin Height not come today for whatever reason. When she watches this back later, this is the worst thing. This is the worst thing that could have happened to her. You guys, not only did you leapfrog turning point in the constructors' standings last week with your performance, this week you've taken the lead. So you guys are now sat in P1 in the constructors' title, and by 8 points or something silly like that. And the ground that you've got to cover as a driver and the driver's that's just chewed that right down and just thrown so many more cards on the table for the last 4 rounds.
Yeah, the constructors definitely will be pretty tight now. Should be quite a close one. Still got quite a way to go in the drivers to get anywhere near Caitlin, but be doing my best each weekend, no matter what.
100 more points on the table, as we know. But just a smidge more, isn't there? If you're taking the fastest laps on the safety ratings to consideration, but 106 more 108 more points maximum. But yeah, just a absolutely insane win there, and it was a pretty gnarly race there. You must have had some pretty crazy emotions when you see it's always nuts when you're sat in P2, and you really were close pace to Potts. And his mistake looked awful. So when you see that on the stream, it really was a bad one. The car.
Yeah, I was just trying to keep up the pressure on him during those couple of laps. Tried to make a move into the chicane at one point, but couldn't really safely keep it with him. So I held off for a bit, tried to make sure my tyres weren't overheating, and then have another crack at it and just keep the pressure on. And yeah, ended up making a mistake.
Yeah, it's that pressure that leads to those mistakes, isn't it? If you weren't there pushing so hard, you don't have to push as hard as you can to maintain a lead, and you don't have to put right to the limit. But the crash he had was terrible. The car looked hooked up. He got the power down, and it came out of from the entry to the exit really nicely, and he didn't hit any curb. And right at the last minute, it just flicked round into the wall. It was really instant payment by death. But
yeah, that took me by surprise. I'll have to give it another watch through. Obviously, in the race, that moment's over and done with, and I'm not really thinking about it too much, or trying not to. Just trying to focus on driving.
Yeah, isn't it? Because especially when it's unexpected like that, you can get in your own head and I can't believe that's happened. But yeah, best result for the Cuda Works F3 team since season 1. So there has not been a Cuda P1, P2 lockout since Imola, and that was round 10, and we're now round 40. So it's been 30 rounds since the Cuda P1, P2 lockout in the F3. So well done, guys.
Yeah, hopefully it won't be that long until the next one.
It was really good to see Steltflug up there with you. But dude, I'll let you go and join the party. And yeah, fantastic win. Is there anyone else you want to shout out before we bust?
Just whole CUDA lot. Just great working with everyone and having fun and getting that practice in.
Good stuff, buddy. Enjoy the party tonight, and yeah, we'll get to you next week. Well, in 2 weeks' time in Imola.
Yep, looking forward to it.
Catch you later, buddy.
Catch you later.
But yeah, teamwork is going to get it done for the CUDA Works drivers. They're going to move up substantially in the constructor standings and really take the fight to Caitlin Height, try to put some pressure on her and force her to make a mistake in the last 4 rounds. Because we've got 4 more races to go before we call the season of the IFL 2 and IFL 3. And next week we're off, but we go to Imola in 2 weeks. And Imola was an amazing race last year, and I expect none but the best racing when we go there with the IFL 2 and 3 this season. We've got so much more competition, so much more going on, and the points race is really heating up, which is really going to give us something to talk about and these drivers to think about.
It was the championship decider last race, wasn't it? So last season in season 1, we only had an F3 division, and Imola was 2 races before the end, and that was the season that the title was decided. I'm not sure if they're close enough in the F3. You would have to be 70. No, you'd have to be 81 points in the front coming out of Imola to take the lead, and there is a similar gap on both fields. So the gap at the top of the F2 and the gap at the top of the F3 is somewhere around there. So we could see Imola being we could see just Imola becoming a title deciding race for the IFL. But what I found most interesting there, talking to the 3 podium guys there, that was very interesting. It definitely added to the dynamic of the race, the affirmations from what me and you thought were happening, whether they were playing as a team or whether they were just keeping it quiet, the 2 CUDA guys, and racing hard, and whether Matt was going to look for the lead. But listening to the fact that though they called that completely 100% pit team maneuver, Matt Turner called it. I just listened and we sat there and run plan A. The surprise that Rodrigo was supported by had some sort of backing from a sponsor, and how calm Matt Stelflug was. All of that was really, I think, really revealing, and actually for me changed what the race that we've just seen, the dynamic, quite significantly. Actually, I will now probably go back and watch it with a completely different view. But difficult race for some. Unlucky race for Brandon Walker there. He had some great pace. I think he DNF'd a few laps before the end. But yeah, he had some pace before those couple of little mistakes there. But that winds it out. That winds out our Asian season, doesn't it? And that is it. So we've had our initial European tour now, which was the first 5 races. And then we moved over to our American tour. God, this seems like an age ago. And then we did 6 races there. 5 races there, and then we've flown over to Asia, and we've just smashed our 3 Asian races. We tipped it with Okayama, Motegi, and now Suzuka. Before, yes, we dial it out with Imola, Spa, Silverstone, and Hockenheim. So fantastic Grade A FIA circumstances to come over the next 5 weeks, as we wind down what has been an incredible season 2 for the IFL. The whole organisation, group size, it's just grown beyond anything I think anybody could have expected.
We got 5 more weeks to go in season 2, and I'm already getting excited for season 3. It is the drivers that we've got coming in here and the skill level that they possess is absolutely out of this world. And you see just new drivers. Rodrigo Miranda, the first time coming in here, and pops down a podium. We had who was that? We had another driver that took their first race and came in, and I believe they won the first race. Who was that? It was 2 weeks ago. Jonathan Lilly comes in, and he missed this race today, but he come in, a new driver, first race in the league, takes the win. So we've really got some drivers that have got some major skill. Obviously, luck has a little bit to do with that on the racetrack, but with a full race, in order to be at that winner on top of the podium, it takes more than just luck. You have to have pace, you have to have skill, and in Lily's case, you just have to have strategy. So there's a bunch of stuff that goes into the racing here in the IFL. It's only getting tougher and tougher and tougher, closer and closer and closer, and wow, we're going to have amazing 4 races to finish out the season with a great points battle in both the IFL 2 and IFL 3. And we will be looking forward to that. We got next week off, but we will see you in 2 weeks at Imola on Saturday for the F2 at 3:45 Eastern, and on Sunday for the IFL 3 at 3:45 Eastern Standard Time. For everybody here at the IFL, we want to thank you for coming out. We appreciate our sponsors, Butt Kicker, LTD Designs, and Majors Garage. We wouldn't be able to do everything we do here without you guys, so we thank you for your support. We thank you for all y'all coming out and watching. And until next time, you guys have a great